Hello, Booktube. Hello, friends. Welcome to LizziefayeLovesBooks. I'm Elizabeth, and today is Saturday, August the 3rd, and I filmed my TBR video almost a week ago, last Sunday, and it was about 31 minutes of raw footage, and that's normal for me. It's usually even more, but for some reason, I could not get it edited. It was just a mess. I think I got through about 8 minutes of it, and I thought, okay, I'm scrapping this. I'm going to have to start over. So hopefully today I can get this done in one take and not have to do a lot of editing, because now we're already in the month of August, and I'm excited to share with you what I'm planning to read and what I've already read. I am well into my TBR because I have a lot of reading goals this month. I mentioned in a couple of previous videos that I started a new challenge that I invited you all to join me on. I'm calling it Oldest August. Several of you have already said in your videos that you are participating. If you didn't hear about that, that is just a challenge to look at all of your reading lists, your shelves, everything, and find some of the oldest things, the oldest books on your shelves or in your lists that you still want to get to. Now, you may look at that and think, I don't want to read that anymore. Well, that's great. Take it off the list. I found several things that I didn't intend to read anymore, and it has been a really good, just a good exercise in purging, as well as, you know, dusting off some of those things that I still want to take a look at and possibly read. So I hope that you will join me in that. It is not too late. And so today I want to share with you what I am planning to read and or listen to for Oldest August. Before I get too much farther into this video, I wanted to just jump in here because I realized that I finished filming and I forgot to mention a really big readathon that's happening in August, and I didn't mention it because I just don't think I'm going to be able to participate, but I wanted to give a shout out to all of the hosts for Garbaugust. Be sure to check out Olly from Olly, also Sarah the Bookish Knitter, our hosts, and Steve Donahue. I think there are quite a few more. Anyway, it's basically a readathon to read, you know, trashy books or things that people might consider garbage. And I would like to think that none of what I'm reading is garbage, although it may turn out to be. I don't know. But I just can't fit it in with everything else I have going on with the challenges and things like that. But I did want to give them a shout out. So now back to what I've already filmed that I am actually planning to read. And if any of it that I am reading turns out to be garbage, then I'll let you know in my wrap up what I thought about it. And I have also gotten a good jump start into my other challenge, which is just something I'm doing for me, and I'm calling it 60 by 60. I want to listen to a specific group of 60 books before my 60th birthday, which is November 1st of this year. And I had 3 boxes sitting over here in my home office or my library or whatever you want to call it. We call it the office. And I knew there were about 60 books in there. I had already been through most of them many months ago and was pretty sure I could get most or all of those on audio on one or more of the different platforms that I use. So I showed them to you. I have since then added a few more. There's 2 that were on the original list that I can no longer find on audio unless I pay for them specifically, and I'm not going to do that, at least not at this point, because I've got plenty of other things to listen to. And I got 4 of them done already in the month of July, so I have 56 books still to do in the next 3 months to meet my goal. But I have a total of 65, so that I have a few extras just in case, you know, I can't get to all of them. The only list that's worrying me a little bit, or the platform that's worrying me a little bit, is Everand, which used to be Scribd, because they only allow you to generally read or listen to about 3 books. Like if you're listening to audiobooks, they will allow you 2 and sometimes 3 before they start eliminating books off of your saved list. But I have a few little tricks and tips that have worked for me before that I'm going to implement and see if I can squeeze a few more out of Everand for this challenge, because one thing that has happened to me before is when I was reading a series, I was listening to a series, and when I got to the end of one book, it would offer me the next one in the series. And so I clicked on it and went on, and I got through probably, I don't know, I'm trying to remember now even what series it was. I think I listened to 6 or 7 or more books in that series, because it just kept letting me go to the next one and go to the next one. And I just kept right on going until I finished the series. So that was great. The other thing I have done is sometimes it'll say, you can't access this book or you can't read this book until, the end of the month, but you can listen to a sample. And a couple of times when I have clicked on and listened to the sample, it just let me go right on through and listen to the whole book. So maybe that will work. So what I'm going to try first with Everand is I'm going to listen to as many books as I can by Elizabeth Berg, because that is one of the that is the author on my list that I have the most books by. And so I'm going to start with a trilogy that I have by her and see if it'll let me go from one to the next, and then just see what is left over. I have several books that are on my 60 by 60 list that I can only get on Everand. And if they only allow me 3 per month, then I won't be able to get all those done. But I'm hoping that it'll let me go through several Elizabeth Berg books. The other trick I am trying is that I did not put all of these books on my saved list. Sometimes they will just manipulate the books that you've got on your saved list, and if you go ahead and search other books that are not on your saved list, you can manage to squeeze in a few more by doing that. So these are my little tricks for Everand, which, might not work all the time, if I abuse them. But for this challenge, I'm going to see if I can do as many tricks as I can to listen to as many of them as I can. Anyway, that's kind of basically what I'm doing for the month. Those 2 challenges, plus I have several books that I just want to read just for fun. And as usual, I have 2 book clubs and I'm reading for those. I've already listened to my mystery book for this month, and I just have my regular literary book club still left to read, and I'll probably go ahead and read ahead. I was able to get my mystery book for September. It came through on Libby. It's already checked out, and so I'll listen to that one for sure. I went ahead, I'm rather nerdy when it comes to planning my TBR, and when I'm trying to squeeze in as many as possible, there's just no way to do that without a plan. So I have spent a good bit of time just planning this out and trying to work out the best strategy for approaching this project. Because if I was a mood reader, I think I would spend a lot of time just worrying about what to read next. And since I'm not a mood reader, I can just make a list and stick to it. So, that's what I'm going to do. But the first thing I did for my 60 by 60 challenge is I just took a piece of lined scrap paper and I wrote everything down. I just took my boxes and I just wrote everything down. And then I went ahead and looked up each book, each author on all the different platforms that I use. There's Hoopla, Libby, I have Audible Plus, I have Everand. I looked at my library to see what was available on CD from my library, and I went from there. So everything, like for each book, I wrote down beside it all the places where I could access that book. And then I made and then I went to my computer and I typed it all up alphabetized. So I've got 4 sheets here of all the different strategies. So the first sheet is just a list of all 65 books. It's actually 67 books because there's 2 that I can't get anymore, and I'm going to probably cross those off. I did go ahead and put out beside the book, that it's not available. What I haven't done on this list yet is write out all the places that it's available. That's just on this paper copy. But then I went through each each of the platforms, and I wrote down what's available on each of those platforms. So on this second page, I have books to get on Audible, and all of the books that are on my 60 by 60 list that I can get on Audible Plus or that I already have in my library. I made a list of those. Then I also made a list of all the books on this 60 by 60 list that are available on CD from my library. CDs are slower because you can't speed them up, but I at least wanted to write down what was available. Then I went and looked on Everand, and everything that I could get on Everand, I made a list. And then I looked on Hoopla, everything that was on Hoopla. Now, I also have a list of all the things that I can get on Everand and Hoopla, because this basically is what I can only get on Everand. And so that's the list I'm going to have to stick to. If I can get it on Hoopla and Everand, I'm going to get it on Hoopla. And if I can get it on Hoopla, I might get it on my daughter's Hoopla or mine, because I can access hers. And that way I have a couple of different options. So that's how that breaks down. Then I also made a list of all of the book club books for the rest of the year, because I've got to work all of those in. And I looked up every place that I can get those, because if they're only available on Everand, then I've got to figure out how I can squeeze those in. Thankfully, I think everything is available either on Libby or Hoopla or CD. So I don't have to use Everand for any of my book club books. And now I've got a plan here for how to work those in, at the time that I need them. So then I made a list of all the books from the lists that I'm using for Oldest August. And some of those, like for instance, the oldest books on my Everand list, I can get those other places. So I don't have to use my Everand list for those. So, y'all, am I boring you yet? This is what I go through because I'm such a nerd about getting all of this in. So I have, for Oldest August, I have my oldest print books that I'm reading, the oldest things on my Goodreads list, the oldest thing I think that was on my Audible list, the oldest things on my Everand list, and where I'm going to access those instead of Everand. The oldest things on my Libby list, or I'm just doing one from my Libby list. Oldest things on my Hoopla, and a couple of things from my library list, and they're all old. I did realize, though, that you can sort them by the order that you put them in, and I had them in the opposite order. But it's fine. I picked up a couple of CDs on my 60 by 60 list that I can get, and they were on my library list, and that's what I'm going with. Something on my Kindle that I've had for a long time. And then I thought I might try to, this is something I haven't done yet, is take my 60 by 60 list and break it down into categories. And I want to try to kind of listen to them in categories so that I can do wrap-ups in categories that would be, they would just make sense, and so that all the books in each of those categories might interest people. Like there's a couple of nonfiction, put those together, put all the historical fiction together, things that are in different themes and stuff like that. So I'm still working on that. I haven't gotten that far yet. Then I also made a list of all the 60 by 60 books that I got done in July, and I'll mention those in my July wrap-up, which I'll either film today or hopefully tomorrow. So that's on the third page, and then on the last page is just my August TBR. Okay, so let's start with what I'm reading in print this month, and I have gotten a good start on things already. I did only have to carry over 2 books into August, and those were books that I planned to carry over. I did start a Daniel Plan group at our church. We've got 3 other ladies and myself, and it's going really well so far. I am rereading the main book, and the others are reading it as well. And then I had been reading the devotional book all year. I have tabbed it up quite a bit with some of my favorite pages and things, with the intent that I would take this with me to our group meeting and read one that I thought, was particularly good. I did that the first meeting, but then the second meeting, I forgot to take it with me, so I got to remember next time. We're meeting twice a month instead of every week. It's a 6-week Bible study, but we are stretching it out over several weeks and just meeting twice a month. So anyway, then I started another Daniel Plan book. I'll have to put a picture here. I'm going to purchase a physical copy of this from eBay. I just haven't done it yet. But I checked it out on my Hoopla account, and it's the Daniel Plan Jumpstart Guide. It has just 40 days of, kind of one focus thing every day, just little short things to kind of go along with my devotions. So I have started that. I also found on my shelf over here that you can't see, I have a little short stack of some older devotional magazines and things, and this one is August of 2008, which is actually the month and year that my mom passed away. I don't know if I have read this one or if I've just been saving it until I wanted to read it, because I knew I wasn't going to recycle this one. I feel like I have read it, but anyway, I'm going to read it again because it's August. And then for next month, I will start one of the new format Journey magazines, which has 3 months in one book. And that is for September, October, and November. So I'm reading this one now, and that is pretty much what I'm doing for my devotional time. I'm also reading a devotional book with Emily, but I didn't bring it in here. And it's one we've read before, and I've showed it to you before. Okay, so when I finish my devotional and finish reading with Emily, she usually wants to eat breakfast. And so I have to kind of, pause reading and go, give her some breakfast and give her medicine and all that kind of stuff. And if I have time, then I like to read some things just for fun. So what I have started so far is my second Gladys Tabor book. This one is Still Meadow Seasons. It doesn't have a dust jacket, but that's fine. It is beautiful on the inside, and I am thrilled to be reading another Gladys Tabor book. I'm also going to be buddy reading a book with Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes. We are reading The Lakehouse by Kate Morton. I have already started this in print, but I am going to move to a CD version that I have from my library. She wasn't quite ready to start it until Monday, and I thought I would go ahead and just read a little bit initially, just to kind of get a feel for the characters and everything and the setting, because sometimes if I just start right out with an audiobook that is going to be dense or long, I end up restarting it a couple of times because it takes me a little bit to sort of get into it. So I think by reading the first couple of chapters in print, then I can go on with the audio with no problem. So I have started that one. This morning I also started Unraveled by Maggie Sefton. This is in my oldest 50 books on my to-be-read list on Goodreads, and it is my U book for the Cozy Mystery ABC Challenge. So it works for 2 different challenges, so that's great. I have also started another book on my Kindle. I believe this is book 4 in the Cruise Ship Mystery series by Hope Callahan. It's called Deadly Deception. I have really enjoyed the series so far, and it has been a lot of fun to sort of remember my days of working on a cruise ship back in the 90s, early 90s, and it's just a lot of fun. That's all I've started so far, but here are the other books in print that I am planning to read. This is one of the oldest books on my bookshelves, so this is going to count for Oldest August. My print read for Oldest August, Return of the Jedi. This one is by James Caan. Screenplay, of course, is by George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan. So this will be the last of the Star Wars books that have been collecting dust on my shelves for 40 plus years, and I'm excited to get to this one. After this book, then I can start the Lando Calrissian adventures, which are as old, but I have not owned them for very long. I just bought them on eBay not too long ago, but those will be the Star Wars books that I will read after I read all of the Return of the Jedi things. Because I also have the junior novelization of Return of the Jedi. I have not had this very long either, but it is well loved. Someone has enjoyed it. And I also have the little golden book version of the same story. So I will read all 3 of those before I move on into the Lando Calrissian adventures. I also have a couple of books by authors I know. I have talked to you guys before about Jack Castle, and he's got a couple of new books out. This is the first book in a spin-off series of the Stranger World series, and I have read this. I was an early editor on this book, but I'm excited to go back and read the finished copy. This is called The Awakening, and the main character here, the lieutenant, is a more of a minor character in the Stranger World series, the original series, and you can totally pick this up without having read any of the other Stranger World books. I wouldn't say jump into the other Stranger World books in the middle. I would say start those from the beginning. But this takes place, I think, like 200 years later in the future from the original Stranger World. And you could totally pick this up and read it. I am really looking forward to reading it. You can get any of his books on Amazon, and I hope that you do. I am really looking forward to this one. I also am looking forward to picking up, finally, Chainlink by Liz Boger. Now, Liz is a Florida author. She recently moved to our area from one of the coastal areas, and she comes in the bookstore where I work fairly regularly, and she gave me this book, and I am so excited to read it. Liz, if you're watching this, I am sorry it has taken me this long, but this month I am going to read this book. This is the first in a series. It's the Moccasin Cove Mystery Series. And it says it takes a village to raise a child, but it may also take your life. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm excited about it. Here is Liz right here. And I can't wait to tell you about this book. So then a few other books in print that I am going to read. Sarah the Bookish Knitter is doing a Colton read-along. Now, her read-along is, I think, of the Coltons of New York series, which I believe are also a romantic suspense Harlequin series. I am not going to read that particular series, but I did run across this book at the bookstore where I work, and this is a Colton book by Marie Ferrarella, but this is the Coltons of Oklahoma. And y'all know I grew up in Oklahoma, so when I saw that this was an Oklahoma book, I thought, oh, I have to get that. Now, this is going to be a little experiment, though. I'm reading this as to kind of give a nod to Sarah's read-along, and if you want to join in with her read-along, please do. But some of us that do the Killing Time with Cozy's live streams on Tiffany's channel, The Beachman Bookworm, sort of have a little running war between the people who read in order and the people who don't care if they read in order or not. So I am generally on Storm's team, Storm from Storm Reads. We are read in order people. And Sarah, who is hosting the Colton read-along, is an out-of-order reader. She does not care about reading in order at all. So I decided I would try a little experiment. I picked this up, and I have not looked to see what number in series this is. Now, if I was going to read this in order, I would probably not only need to read the first one in the Coltons of Oklahoma, I would probably need to go back and read the first Colton series total, the first ever, and read them, all in order, because that's just how I am. But I am just going to go ahead and pick this up and start reading it and not look and see what number it is, because I don't want that to skew my impression. I want to just read it and see how it goes. I want to see if I'm able to tell a difference. Like if it turns out that it is in the middle or the end of the series, I want to see how that feels. And if I can just read it and not ever know the difference, then that'll be great. But if I can kind of get a sense that maybe I'm missing something, then, that'll answer that question as well. Now, most romance books, I think you could read as standalones. But sometimes with romantic suspense books that are series, there are maybe overarching mysteries that start in the first book and don't get wrapped up until the last book, and then each book has its own romance and its own little mini mystery. I don't know if that's the case here or not. We shall see. So check out Sarah's channel if you want to know a little bit more about the read-along that she's doing. I think it goes through the month of August or maybe into September. I'm not sure. She's been working on it all summer. And check out her channel anyway. She has been vlogging from the hospital. If you don't know, she has been in the hospital for a little while waiting on a heart transplant, and she comes on and does her reading updates and everything, and it's so great to see her every day, and I just am praying that she continues to feel better and that everything goes smoothly for her throughout this time, and that she can get back to regular life at home very soon. So anyway, this is something that I am planning to read, but I have not started it yet. A couple of books that I will read with Emily. This poor old book was mine and maybe even my brothers and sisters when we were young. I'm going to count this for oldest August. It's definitely the oldest book on Emily's shelf. It's The Cheery Scarecrow by Johnny Gruelle. Anyway, this is a very old book, and either myself or one of my siblings even colored in it. I'm going to probably confess that it was probably me. There are some color illustrations like this, and I guess my childhood mind thought that if they weren't colored, they were supposed to be, and I better do my job to color them. My goodness, it's terrible. And then one of the other books that I'm going to read with Emily, this was in a bag of books that she received from a friend. This is Hidden Figures, The True Story of 4 Black Women and the Space Race. The larger book is by Margot Lee Shetterly, and I have it here because this is the oldest audiobook on my Libby wish list. So I've checked out the physical copy, and I am going to listen to that on Libby. I don't have it checked out yet, but I am going to listen to it. That is just about everything that I think I can get to. I have one other one pulled out here that I may also read this month. This is Children of the Dust Bowl. I've showed this once before. I started it a few months ago, maybe even a year ago, because my brother, when he was here last year, he left it with me because he was done with it, and I said, oh, I want to read that too. Well, I've got an audiobook that's in my 60 by 60 list that also has to do with the Dust Bowl. So if it looks like I'm going to be able to get to that audiobook this month, which I probably will, then I'll go ahead and read this so that I can read both of these, you know, in the same month. Anyway, this is by Jerry Stanley, The True Story of the School at Weed Patch Camp. And it is just a really neat book. It's got illustrations and photographs, and it doesn't look like it would take very long to read, but it just looks super interesting. So for my book club in August, for my mystery book club, we are discussing Death Comes to Marlowe, I think is the title. I have already listened to that in the month of July, and so I'm ready to go for that. But then for my other library book club, we're reading Someone Else's Shoes by Jojo Moyes. So I need to get going on this one soon. This has 10 discs, and I've got just about a week and a half to get this one done. So I need to do that, probably listen to at least one a day. And then once Mitzi and I start this buddy read, I will need to listen to at least part of one of those a day as well. Then I've got one other CD checked out that's on my 60 by 60 list, The Secret Life of Bees. I may or may not get to that one this month, but if I can, I will. And then I discovered that I own another one of my 60 by 60 books on CD, but I can also get this on Libby. And so I will probably end up just listening to that on Libby because there are hardly any of these books on my 60 by 60 list that I can get on Libby. In fact, I could do this whole challenge without even going on Libby at all, which is a shame because I never max out my Libby list. There's just not that many things on Libby that I want to read. Thankfully, my book club books, some of them are on Libby, and I've already got most of those on hold because you never know how long you're going to have to wait for some of those. So that's the books on CD that I could possibly get to. I think I mentioned on Everand for the month of August, there are several books that I need to listen to on my 60 by 60 list, but I'm going to start with books by Elizabeth Berg because I have at least 10 or more books on my 60 by 60 list by Elizabeth Berg, and the majority of them are on Everand. There is one or two on in other places, but early in the month, I want to get as many books on Everand done as I can because I just want to exhaust that resource since I don't know yet how many I'm going to be able to get done. Then I will move on to the 60 by 60 books that I can get on Hoopla. Now, I've already been listening to some books on Hoopla, but they are books for my oldest August challenge. I have already listened to 2.5 organizing books. I am over 50% done with the third one, and I'll tell you all about those whenever I do my end of the month wrap up for August. But I have been getting some good motivation from those. There's always something from each organizer that rubs me the wrong way. There's not one I've found that I just wholeheartedly, endorse completely, except maybe the Fly Lady. Fly Lady, I pretty much agree with her philosophy, but everybody else, there's always one little thing at least, but still I can always glean something from each one of them, and so it's very motivating for me to listen to and read organizing books and decluttering books. So I hope to get a lot of decluttering done this month as well, while I'm listening to all of these 60 by 60 books, because my goal for the month of August, September, and October is to average one audiobook a day. Now, some are longer than others, so it won't be exactly one a day, but if I can average one a day, then that will be great. So let me show you what else I'm reading for Oldest August, and then we'll chat a little bit more about my 60 by 60 challenge. So I've already shown you the print books that I'm reading for Oldest August. So the oldest things on my Goodreads TBR are a random selection of the Little House books, the Martha, Charlotte, and Caroline years. And that was because when I was first setting up my Goodreads, I was just, I was scrolling through the list and just clicking on things that I wanted to read. It wasn't really systematic. It was just clicking on things that were scrolled in front of me. And so I'm not ready to read those yet because I want to read those in order. And so I skipped those and went down to the next couple, which I could not get on audio. So then the next two after that are books that I can get on audio. So that is what I'm going with. They are at least in the oldest 10. So we're going with that. So one of them is The Rising by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. This is book one of the prequel series to the Left Behind series. And then I recently found this at the bookstore where I work, Tramp for the Lord by Corrie ten Boom. I might also listen to The Hiding Place because I think both are available on Audible Plus, and I have been wanting to get to both of these for a long time. So I'm excited about that. Then I believe the oldest thing on my Audible library is Treasure Island. I found this really cool old copy at one of our county libraries, and so I always like to have a physical copy on hand just to show you and also in case I want to refer to it. So I've got that. And then on my Everand list, I have already listened to the oldest thing on that list, which is Decluttering at the Speed of Life by Dana K. White. I accessed this on Hoopla instead of Everand, but this was the oldest thing on my Everand list. And then the thing next up on my Everand list, I had already listened to. It was another organizing book. So I'm leaving it on there because I think I left it on there so that I could read it again or listen to it again at some point. But the next book is Native Tongue by Carl Hiaasen. This is book 2 in the Skink series. I have listened to some of the Skink books a long time ago before I ever knew there was a series or there was any order to them or anything. And so I went back and listened to the first one a couple of years ago, and I may need to listen to it again before I move on to this one, or at least review the synopsis of it, because I really kind of want to get a feel for the progress of things in that series. Since I've already read several of them out of order, I kind of want to, go from the first one to the last one in series order now. And I can get that on Audible Plus. I already mentioned the oldest thing on my Libby list is Hidden Figures. Then I am tackling the 2 oldest books on my Hoopla wish list. One of them was Throw Out 50 Things by Gail Blanky. I have already listened to that. It was only like less than 4 hours in real time, and I sped it up and got through that all yesterday morning. And then I am in the middle of this one, which is a little bit longer. It was like a little less than 12 hours on audio. I'm listening to this on 2 times speed. I started it yesterday, and I have listened to a little bit more of this morning. This is 1 Year to an Organized Life by Regina Leeds. This one's okay, but it would be better read, a month at a time so that you could do the challenges a month at a time. Not every month applies to me because she's got a chapter on moving, she's got a chapter on vacationing, things like that. And of course, her chapter on vacationing, I think, is in June. My vacation is usually in April, so it wouldn't apply to me completely, but I can still always glean things from organizing books. And while I may not agree with her strategies completely, it's still good to pick them up sometimes and just get motivated to do something, even, whether it's what they recommend or not. It's good to just do something and make progress. And then I've already mentioned my the CDs that I got from my library list and my Kindle. So that pretty much covers my Oldest August TBR. Let me know if you are participating in Oldest August and what you're reading. And did you end up picking up your oldest thing and reading that? Or did you delete it and keep moving up the list? Let me know. Okay, so a little chat about my 60 by 60 list. I mentioned that I have a total of 67 books on this list, but 2 of them are coming off the list because I was not able to find them on audio without just flat out buying them. One of them is this one, 72 Hour Hold by B.B. Moore Campbell. I really should just let this go because my husband has read it and he said he didn't think I would like it. But I thought, well, if I can get it on audio, I should go ahead and listen to it, just because I have it. It has something to do with a special needs child, but I think he probably knew that it might trigger me. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. I'm not going to get rid of it just yet, but I'm taking it off the list because I can't get it on audio right now. And then the other one that I couldn't find on audio is by Elizabeth Berg, which is surprising because so many of her books are available on audio. And several of her books that I don't even own, I could get if I wanted to. But this one, Home Safe, I could not find except if I wanted to purchase it on Audible. And I even discovered that I have 2 copies, a hardcover and a paperback. And I can't read either one of them. But anyway, I can at least unhaul one of them and I'll save one until whatever point that I'm able to read it or get it on audio. Things fluctuate, things come and go. The point when I pulled all of these books into a box, and at that point I could get them all on audio. There were other books on my shelves that were not available on audio to me, and now they are, which is why I was able to go ahead and add a few more to the box. So, things come and go. You just never know, but I am hoping to get through as many of these as I can before they go anywhere, and then that way I can unhaul these books but still have them while I want to talk about them, because I could go ahead and get rid of them now, but I want to have them in my hand to talk about. I like to be able to open them up or refer to them if I want to, and I like to stack them up at the end of the month and show a physical grouping of all the books that I read and listened to. So anyway, so here are a few other books that I have added to the list that I discovered I could easily get that I would like to read as well. I'm pretty sure that none of these books were on the original list of 60. Interestingly enough, I couldn't find Home Safe, but I did find that 2 other Elizabeth Berg books that I own, I could in fact get on audio. One of them is Dream When You're Feeling Blue. And the other one is The Last Time I Saw You. I love this cover. This one, though, I could not find digitally, but my library has a CD copy of it. So I probably won't get to this one in August, but I am adding it to the list so that I can hopefully get to it during this challenge. Another author that I have 2 books by already on my 60 by 60 list is Jennifer Shiverini, and I picked up Fates and Traders by her on my trip in April, and I discovered that I can get this one on audio. I'm not sure where, maybe Audible Plus or maybe Hoopla, I'm not sure, but anyway, I went ahead and added it to the list. And then a couple of others that have always intrigued me. One of them is Watership Downs by Richard Adams. This is on Libby, but it's also on, I think, Audible Plus and probably Hoopla. So I'm not sure where I will access it. But I have never read this book, and I think I should. And then one that I've heard good and bad things about, but it's been on my radar for a long time, is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. So I can get this one, I believe, on Audible Plus, and that is what I will do. And the other one that I have added is just a little bitty thing, but it looks terrifying. This is Night by Elie Wiesel, and this is a nonfiction book about his experiences during the Holocaust. And I think it's probably a really important book that I should read. So I believe I can access it on Audible Plus, and I'm not going to enjoy it, but I'll be glad to finally get to it. So my strategy for tackling this challenge is, like I said, first to do Everand, as many as I can on Everand. And then I already have several books checked out on Hoopla, both my Hoopla and Katie's Hoopla. So I will need to get to those before they expire. And I've got one book club book checked out on Libby. And I have a couple of Libby things on hold. So generally you have 2 weeks for those and you have 3 weeks for Hoopla. So it'll just be kind of a juggling game to get everything listened to before it expires. And then once I have exhausted everything that I have checked out right now, then I will check out some more things on Hoopla, both mine and Katie's, and just continue from there. Once then the month rolls over into September, I'll do the same thing again. I will start with Everand, and if I have any holdovers from Hoopla, then I'll get those done first and just, try to stay ahead of expiration dates and things like that. And then when I am going to be somewhere stationary, like either here in the office or in the kitchen, then that's when I will listen to my CDs, because my portable CD player is very easily moved from here to the kitchen. When I'm washing dishes or cooking or anything like that, I will switch to the CD so that I can keep up with those as well. Because, I can't speed those up. So I have to make sure that I stay on top of my CDs in order to get those done, because several of them are only on CD. But I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful to have that as an option. I think I have covered everything. Now, I didn't go through the specific books that I'm going to listen to for my 60 by 60 challenge in this video, but if you have not seen that video, then I'll try to put a thing here, or I'll link it down below, and you can go and see what all 60 of the books are, in addition to the 6, I think, that I've added to the list, so that you can see what I'm going to be listening to over the course of the next 3 months. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining in on Oldest August. Let me know in the comments what you are reading for Oldest August, and let's just chat about all the things. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.